What's up guys, ShinyHunterDestroyer here and welcome back to a brand new Pokemon Journeys anime discussion video. Today I'll be talking about episode 32, which is titled Celebi, A Timeless Promise. I feel like this episode could be a mixed bag for many of the anime Poke fans, but I in particular love this episode for what it gave us. Why? Well, you'll have to wait and see. This episode starts off with Go and his family on a family vacation off to Azalea Town in the Johto region. Last time they went, it was hard for them to enjoy their time there because of the heavy rain that fell on them last time they were there. On the drive there, Go sees something on the side of the road. It looks like that was him, a lot younger, walking in the rain. Next up is the new opening, which has been the talk of the town. However, I won't be talking about the new opening today. If you'd like to see a video on it soon, let me know in the comment section. I'll make sure I do it. Anyway, back to the episode. Go and his family make it to Azalea Town, where they would be staying at a cottage to just relax and, you know, have a family vacation and all. They greet the cottage manager before going into the cottage. It's a little important to note that the cottage manager has a son Flora, but we'll get into that in a bit. With Go's parents passing out as soon as they got in the cottage, Go decides to walk out and catch some Pokemon around the area. When he left, he started thinking about last time he was here, effectively being a flashback. 3 years back, Go was trying to search for Mew in this exact area. He saw something and started chasing a Pokemon around who he thought was Mew. While chasing Mew, he encountered a certain someone also chasing the same Pokemon, thinking it was Celebi. Turns out that Pokemon was just a Mischievous. The two boys introduced each other, the other boy named Tokyo, who, like I said earlier, was looking for Celebi. Go demonstrated basically all he knew about Mew and Pokemon and impressed Tokyo. Tokyo told Go all he knew about Celebi, and Go seemed really interested in the idea of finding Celebi after that. They agreed to search for Celebi together. They end up encountering many Pokemon along the way, but obviously they don't really encounter Celebi. They got to a point where Tokyo felt like there was nowhere else to check. They weren't making any progress, so it makes a little bit of sense to think that. Luckily, Go is able to check where recent sightings of Celebi have been on his little device that his parents made for him. They head over to those recent sightings, but see that the tall grass is blocking their view. This means that it could be dangerous because tall grass can have Pokemon in it. I mean, they can't really see what Pokemon are around, so it'd be better if the tall grass wasn't there in the first place, I think. Some of the Pokemon that appeared was an Ariados and a Pineco. Go comes up with a plan in his head and runs back, telling Tokyo that he would be right back. What I can only assume to be a pretty substantial amount of time, Go comes back with a Sunflora who can use Razor Leaf to cut down the tall grass. This Sunflora would be the cottage manager's. This made traveling through the area a lot easier for them, so they kept on continuing until it got too late to continue. When they stopped, they hung around till it became night, just enjoying themselves, looking at the stars. Tokyo was getting cold, so it was as good of a time as any to decide on leaving for the day. They both agreed to meet up in the same spot the next day. Tokyo and Go agreed on making this a promise and even had a heartwarming moment calling each other friends. Next day rolls around, Go with Sunflora arrives at the spot they promised to meet up. Go waited long until it started raining. After a while, he realized Tokyo wasn't going to come, betraying Go's trust completely. As Go had his head down, he walked into the rain with Sunflora. His parents picked him up on the side of the road, and after that, we can only assume they headed home. Back to present day, Go can't get these events out of his head. We see him back in the area with all the tall grass. With all his new Pokemon, he's able to swiftly get through the tall grass, but as he cuts through the grass, he thinks about it more and more. The Pokemon he encountered, an Ariados and a Pineco, Pokemon that he remembered from back then. Tokyo's betrayal is constantly digging at Go's head while plowing through the grass. Through the trees, he can see it. The Celebi shrine where Celebi is said to be found. While looking for Celebi there in the shrine, he found a note wedged into the shrine. Go takes the note, opens it up, and reads it. The note said, and I quote, "Go, I'm sorry I broke our promise. You might not believe me at this point, but I really did try to go to Ilex Forest on that day, but I caught a fever." End quote. Tokyo went back the next day, but of course Go wasn't there. Tokyo was truly sorry for breaking his promise. Quote, "I know I said we were friends. I went looking for the shrine again the next year, and I finally found it. If I could meet Celebi, I was going to ask it to use its time power to send me back to that day 1 year earlier so I could keep my promise to you, end quote. In the end, Celebi never showed up and Tokyo was never able to go back in time. I still think of you as my friend, was the last line in the note. Someone comes up from behind Go and calls out for him. That familiar voice was Tokyo. They walk up to each other, both happy to see each other, and with that, the episode comes to an end. I can't watch this episode without my emotions taking over. A normal person will probably say that this episode was alright. It had the right things, but the emotional weight wasn't there after this whole thing being a misunderstanding. I mean, that's what a normal anime viewer would say. Now, as a Ghost stan, this episode is beautiful. The way it started, the way it built up to the ending, even though I could smell the way it was going to end, I couldn't help but tear up at that ending. It was just beautiful. I feel like I say that a lot about Ghost Story, but man, this is an episode to behold if you just like Go. Seeing Go walking down the street right from the beginning was something that already got me in the sad mood. Sabo and Rabu were there too, reacting to Go as he stared out the window, seeing how everything played out back then. The whole flashback sequence did completely what I wanted it to do. Explain why Go acted the way he did when he first met Ash and why he demonstrates having some trust issues. This episode is proof that he wasn't like that before as well. I mean, episode 1 exists too, but we don't talk about that because this episode's important now. The last part of the flashback where Go was walking with Sunflora head down, just sad all over, carried so much emotion. You can just tell what he must have been feeling just 3 years ago. It's crazy to realize that this all happened 3 years ago. He's done a good job at hiding it, but from this episode, it's obvious that this event in particular still dug at his brain. Betrayal, lies, all of that was in his head, especially when he was going through the grass to find the shrine. Speaking about that part, it was a part that got me emotional. Seeing the Pokemon that he encountered back then again, but now catching it. It was just so emotional in my opinion. The way they did it was amazing. Every time he sees something that reminds him of his past, it digs at him more and more with more emotion every time. Go didn't think of Tokyo as a friend anymore. He gave up on Tokyo entirely, jumping the gun on believing Tokyo betrayed him. After Go told Tokyo that he never broke promises, Tokyo broke one basically right in front of his eyes. He never got to see Tokyo again. Tokyo never was able to explain himself, which is why I think the note in the shrine was amazing. Yes, it was a misunderstanding, but I think that it would have been hard to do something like this any better. The emotions that Go displayed were priceless, heading to the shrine and arriving at the shrine. Reading that note, his heart was filled with emotions. When he turned around and saw Tokyo, it's like all the weight that was on his back was lifted. One of his biggest struggles in his past has been lifted, solidifying this with a smile at the end, walking towards Tokyo. Like I said, this was amazing. Go wasn't the only character that got spotlight this episode though. Tokyo, I think, will make an interesting character going forward, if he is a reoccurring character. I really hope he is because I think that it could help Go a lot. Poof Biscuit in the comments mentioned Tokyo being Go's rival, and I think right now that would actually be pretty cool. I want to see more Tokyo, not for Tokyo's sake, but for Go's sake. I think his character can improve a lot because of that, but I doubt we would see him too much since there was no sign in the opening for him. Tokyo had a great part in this episode though, and that shouldn't be taken lightly. He went back the day after Go left and the next year after that to find the shrine. This moment dug at Tokyo too, realizing he betrayed Go's trust. It may have taken away a little bit of the emotional weight, but it still was really emotional in the end. Go went from remembering his friend betraying him, leaving him behind, to reuniting with that friend and forgiving him. This episode, more of Go's backstory was revealed, possibly explaining why he acts the way he does today. He faces that past and finds the true story to it. In the end, Go was able to befriend Tokyo once again. Even though Go ripped Tokyo away from his friendship heart entirely, Tokyo still left Go there, hoping to see him again. Another great display of emotions from from a Go-focused episode. Man, being a Go stan is the life. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys did enjoy, please consider hitting the like button because that is super highly appreciated. If you want to see more content like this, hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more of my videos. How did your emotions fare this episode? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Have a nice day, guys. Peace out.